offer them hope and religious brotherhood. Specifically, the gang was heavily entrenched in the Wahhabi ideology. Bassam twisted Islamic scriptures to convince his members to follow his orders. He would commonly describe their brotherhood as ikhwan, and those who didn't sit right with him as fitna. Unlike other street and biker gangs around, money wasn't the initial motivation. They deeply valued their sense of religious oneness that inspired the zealous duty necessary for their violent endeavors. The gang grew quickly.
Yo, money not being the motivation is different. Usually that's the only reason why lads is out here getting it how they getting it. You feel me? For the bread. So that's how you know you dealing with some savages. Shout out to the lads. Hold on, I'm in a good mood, lads. Shout out to the lads. Shout out to the lads. I'm telling you right now. Shout out to the lads. Hold on. Shout. Yo, lads, I'm lit. So already you know the video finna be fire. Listen, click the title, you're at the page, Sydney's Bloodly Gang War. I'm probably gonna get demonetized, and that's how you know I'm lit, because I don't give a mother beep. Alright, subscribe for the vibe. Hope you feeling good, hope you feeling great. Let's get to it, lads.
Worst is yet to come.
Wait, what's happening? Wait a minute. Okay, now let's get to it, lads.
Murders, shootings and kidnappings have terrorised neighbourhoods across Sydney as the worst gang violence in a generation.
13 murders in 18 months, and a warning, the worst is yet to come. A bitter battle between the Alameddines and the Hamsies.
Okay, I ain't gonna lie. This kind of shifting my mood. You know, like, this is getting a little crazy, you know? I mean, like, I get the title, but you don't really think it's going to be that crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you probably just think it's going to be, oh, they was beefing over some money. You know, live by it. You know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So you thinking, all right. But damn, this 13. This is a lot. And the video just started, bro. Thoughts and prayers.
Crime families behind cold-blooded killings in public places and suburban streets.
They are just so powerful, so rich, and so dangerous.
The Hamsi family is like a ghost that haunts the suburbs of southwestern Australia. Even when it's inactive, you can't really shake the feeling it will be back when you least expect it. Together with their rivals, they have turned the streets of Sydney into a battlefield. We're talking broad daylight shootings and drive-bys in luxury Bentley Continentals and Porsches. Over the years, it has gotten so bad that the police have established over 27 strike forces to take them down. The family has a unique feature that makes it almost immortal. It's among the few criminal organizations with religious roots. Even when its original members aren't active, someone will believe and carry on the mantle. Continue watching as we go through the Hamsi crime family's origins, operations, current standing, and bloody feud with the Alameddines. Bassam Hamsi is undoubtedly the number one figure that comes to mind whenever the Hamsi crime family is mentioned, and for good reason. After all, he is the longtime leader of the group. Police investigators claim he is the son of Lebanese immigrants that made it into the country during the 1970s Lebanese Civil War. And unknown to most people, Bassam's father also served the underworld. Court records show he was arrested and...
Yo, when they say the underworld, and I think you guys told me, but that probably wasn't wow. So you guys gotta freshen my memory. You know, I do smoke it up with y'all. We smoking together. What's the underworld again?
Convicted of drug-related charges in the late 1990s. It seems young Bassam took a liking to his father's line of work. At only 18 years old in 1999, Bassam shot and killed a teenager outside a Sydney nightclub, a deed that would land him 21 years behind bars in Lithgow Correctional Centre. A 21-year sentence for an 18-year-old would mean game over for most people. However, Bassam Hamsi was a different breed. He didn't survive in prison, he thrived. Those around him at the time described the young man as intelligent, well-spoken, and charismatic, and despite spending little time in school, he had a natural knack for legal matters. His charisma further skyrocketed when he converted to Islam and bonded.
So he was a good kid after he just clapped somebody? That's crazy. And that's why I'm trying to tell people, like, especially my young lads, you don't have to do certain shit to get certain shit. I know you're probably thinking, TT, what? No, I'm being fair. Like, if you want the life that you want, you don't have to take the bad route to get there. You got to take the longer route, the slower route, and it super sucks. Trust me. I do 10 videos a day, bro. The average YouTuber probably do 3, and they're fine for the month. But I don't complain. You think I'm complaining, bro? Hell no. My hands, I'm not complaining, nigga. I'm bragging. Yeah, I work so hard, my hands hurt, nigga. Outwork me. Let's get it.
With other inmates that shared their religion. Bassam was a well-mannered inmate. In fact, so good that the prison authorities suspected something sinister was going on. It also didn't help that he was always surrounded by a following of people with his religious beliefs. Eventually, in 2007, all the red flags would amount to something. After searching his cell, prison authorities found a hidden cell phone from which he made at least 450 phone calls a month. It suddenly dawned upon them that their good inmate was orchestrating illegal drug operations, drive-by shootings, and kidnappings, all from behind bars. They even stumbled upon a phone call recording in which Bassam threatened to cut off the ears of a loan defaulter. That's not all.
Yo, what? Did y'all just hear that? His ears is insane.
Network was more sophisticated than they first thought. He wasn't just an inmate tormenting those on the outside. He was the leader of a notorious street gang, the Brothers for Life. Australian gang experts explain that Brothers for Life started as a small street gang in the Bankstown Greenacre area in Sydney's southwest. It came about after the police shut down the Muslim Brotherhood movement, another gang that was prominent in the area. Besides MBM, some of its members also came from other Middle Eastern criminal organizations like the Assyrian Kings. To them, even though he was incarcerated, Bassam was a leader like none other. He specifically targeted Aboriginal youths suffering from drug addiction and offered them hope and religious brotherhood. Specifically, the gang was heavily entrenched in the Wahhabi ideology. Bassam twisted Islamic scriptures to convince his members to follow his orders. He would commonly describe their brotherhood as Ikhwan, and those who didn't sit right with him as Fitna. Unlike other street and biker gangs around, money wasn't the initial motivation. They deeply valued their sense of religious oneness that inspired the zealous duty necessary for their violent endeavors. The gang grew quickly.
Yo, money not being the motivation is different. Usually, that's the only reason why lads is out here getting it how they getting it. You feel me? For the bread. So, that's how you know you dealing with some savages. When money ain't the reason behind the violence, you dealing with some savages.
And established his first official chapter in Bankstown, with Mohammed L.C. Hamzi as the chapter's president. With himself in prison, Bassam chose his cousin to lead the gang on the outside. Nonetheless, he was still the leader and nothing was to take place without his approval. To say Brothers for Life was a success is an understatement. They played a big role in Sydney's underworld and took part in almost everything from the illegal commercial drug trade to extortion and prostitution. Without a doubt, they raked in millions in illegal revenue.
Yo, I gotta look up the even though he already said the word, the peas word in Australia laws, like how that work is like, you never know, like every place is different. So like, and when I went to Vegas, I found out that that's legal. I was like, what? Like, it's legal in Vegas? What? Yeah, I gotta look at my Vegas vlog. It's crazy, very interesting.
Just to paint a picture, their chapter president, Mohammed L.C., was riding in a $160,000 Mustang. On top of that, he parked a Range Rover on his driveway despite living in public housing and being on disability support pension. Another member, Khalid Khalil, caught the police's attention after they spotted him casually wearing an $80,000 Breitling watch. There was even a case of a 19-year-old newcomer who suddenly became the newly registered owner of an Audi Q7. It was particularly baffling since the police knew the teenager hadn't worked a day in his life. Additionally, if Brothers for Life members weren't peddling drugs, you'd find them in the High Rollers room at the Star Casino. They were so comfortable that they would repeatedly taunt police officers on sight. At the time, the government had established—
Yo, y'all be gambling, lads? Yo, drop a cut. Yo, the lads be gambling. Y'all be in the Star Sydney, in the Star Casino. Let me find out. Yo, lads, I suck at gambling. And let me tell you something. The older you get, you realize it don't even be worth it. Well, I'm lying, because you know they usually say like when old folks be in a casino, but like I'm talking about like when you in your 20s and your 30s, your late 20s and your early 30s, you like, nah, I ain't trying to gamble my money, bro.
The Middle Eastern Organized Crime Squad to deal with them. However, instead of fleeing, Brothers for Life gangsters would tattoo MEOC onto their necks and even bear the name on their vehicle's number plate. They were rich, wild, and definitely not afraid of the authorities. The flashy lifestyle appealed to even more Aboriginal youths. They wanted to be like their elder brothers. They wanted supercars, Louis Vuitton, and girls. Surprisingly, admission wasn't difficult. You only had to spend $70 on a Brothers for Life t-shirt with their infamous logo of crossed AK-47s. Additionally, you had to be seeking glory and willing to throw yourself at the mercy of high-ranking members looking for people to do their dirty work. If you survived long enough, then maybe you could get in on the luxurious gangster lifestyle. Unfortunately, few ever made it to the top. If things had stayed as they were, then Bassam would have remained the proud founder and leader of the successful gang. Unfortunately, things didn't go quite as planned. As the gang grew, Bassam would lose influence over the Bankstown chapter. It seems that the allure of money was too tempting, and with himself behind bars, there wasn't much he could do. It also didn't help that after uncovering his criminal ring, prison authorities transferred him to Goulburn Supermax Prison, Australia's toughest correctional facility. For a few years,
Oh, I gotta look that up. I think I did though. Yo, drop a comment if you a day one and you pay attention. Did I do a reaction video to Australia's toughest prison? I think I did though, and it was a little crazy. Yeah, yeah. He couldn't do much there. They run a tight shift over there.
From 2009 to around 2012, Bassam had very little communication with this criminal enterprise. The best he could do was hear the news about their exploits as they rampaged the streets. There was a power vacuum. And even though many higher-ups didn't say anything for fear over what Bassam would do, according to authorities, they seemed to desire the throne. Some gang experts claim it was during those years that the Brothers for Life gang lost its structure. According to some authorities, for good. Drill rap music and alcohol replaced prayers as Bassam's religion-first mindset was put in the back seat. Members became even more ambitious as they fought to claim more drug profits. It was also during Bassam's absence that the Brothers for Life Blacktown chapter emerged. Unlike the Bankstown chapter, which was predominantly Lebanese, Blacktown featured more Afghan gangsters. While the higher-ups got along, the same couldn't be said about their underlings. They both wanted a sizable share of the Western Sydney drug trade, and the rivalry of some sort was slowly emerging. The Bankstown chapter, understandably, was the most successful of the two, owing to being in the business for much longer. As a result, Blacktown members always had an underdog mentality. According to inside sources, all hell broke loose after some Bankstown members referred to the Blacktown chapter as the Afghan dogs. It was hard enough that the Lebanese saw themselves as superior to the Afghans, the insult just pushed them over.
Yo, in Australia, they really take that dogs, like that's an insult? Cause like, yo, New York would be like, well, not even just all over, like, even though we don't really say my dog in New York, let me not say that, but in America, you know, like in the South, it'd be, yo, my dog, that my dog, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? But what? I gotta be, yo, I'm glad I'm watching this, so I know what not to say, cause, you know what I mean? You can't just be disrespected, folks. You know what I mean? Whether you tough or not, you can't be disrespectful, that's corny. You know what I mean? You want respect, you gotta give respect, point blank, period. That's, you know what I mean? But that's crazy. I gotta be, yo, what?
Over the edge. The first to suffer the consequences was the $80,000 wash bearer, Khalid Khalil. According to police reports, on October 8th, 2012, he was kneecapped by a large group of fellow gang members.
Hey, my birthday's October 10th. That's crazy. Yo, drop a comment if you a Libra. Yo, but that's fucked up what they about to say.
Only 7 days later, the Bankstown chapter would retaliate. Despite allegedly being very close with Yahya, Mohammed LC would betray and plan an attack on the second-in-command and Blacktown president Basim Hijazi. The two were attacked and shot several times as they sat in a Mercedes on Greenacre Road. Yahya died on the scene, but Hijazi survived and refused to aid police investigations. Instead, he fled to Lebanon. With Hijazi in hiding, Bassam saw the perfect opportunity to seize back his organization. He approached the notorious gangster Farhad Kwame and urged him to take control of the rogue Blacktown chapter. Farhad's mission was to clean up the gang and take it back to its roots. Unfortunately for the imprisoned leader, even he couldn't put off the flames that the two chapters had started. Just as the year was coming to a close, there was an assassination attempt on Bankstown president Mohammed. However, they didn't get him. Instead, the assailants shot and killed Mahmoud Hamzi, Bassam's other cousin. According to the family, Mahmoud wasn't engaged in any criminal activities and couldn't even harm a fly. It was an unfortunate case of an innocent relative taking another's bullet. When Bassam was asked about the incident, he replied that he accepts it if it's God's will. Suddenly, for a month or so, the two gangs were silent. Even though kneecappings happened once in a while during chapter meetings, the violence was off the streets. Perhaps both sides were afraid of police action because not long after, on February 8, 2013, Operation Apollo would nab several Brothers for Life members. It wasn't a huge arrest, but the police thought it would be enough to cool them down. It turned out they were wrong. The dust just couldn't settle in southwestern Australia. On March 9, 2013, Bassam's aunt was the victim. A man tried to assassinate her at the family's Auburn home in Sydney. According to police reports, he sneaked into the compound and fired at least 21 shots into the home. Even though she survived, she had to nurse at least 8 bullet wounds to her hip and legs. On November 7, 2013, the police's months of hard work would pay off as they successfully arrested Mohammed Al-Si, the Bankstown Brothers for Life president. Along with him, the authorities also managed to nab other key gang figures. Mohammed got decades behind bars for the murder of Yahya Ahmoud, among other crimes. Interestingly enough, the police also learned that not long after the 2012 shooting, the Brothers for Life gang paid around $400,000 as compensation to Yahya's family. With Mohammed Al-Si in prison and Basim Hijazi off the spotlight, many thought the Brothers for Life gang was done for good. That wasn't the case. If anything, it became stable. With Bassam's approval, Farhad Kwame continued as the gang's leader.
Yo, you know what this remind me of? This remind me of that, like, that GD shit, like, in Chicago, like, way back then, like, that beef that niggas was just born into, like, in situations like that, it's just so unfortunate, bro. It's so unfortunate. And I want to say to the young lads, if you born into some shit, find your way to get out of it. This is a perfect example as to why you should. Because this shit ain't, it's not cool. And even the ones that's born into it, like I said, they're born into it. They feel like they don't have a choice. But yo, there's always a way out. There's always a way out. Then again, let me not even say that, man. 'Cause sometimes it's really not, bro. All you can do is just pray, bro. That shit is just effed up, bro.
And many testified of his brutal leadership. Perhaps fearing future instability, Farhad ruled the gang with an iron fist, expecting unquestioned obedience and loyalty from its members. Therefore, it wasn't at all surprising that many of the original Brothers for Life gangsters didn't approve of Bassam's decision. Barely a year later in 2014, Bassam's own mother would suffer an assassination attempt. In a similar manner to the hit orchestrated on his aunt, a man sneaked into the family compound and fired several shots through the door. Ma Bassam took several bullets in the stomach. Interestingly, it wasn't a case of internal fire. The shooting was related to a debt recovery feud between her son and another gangster, and Ma Hamzi only happened to be collateral damage. Luckily, she survived. For a while, you could say there was peace. However, it was in 2017 that the Hamzi and Brothers for Life names resurfaced. The police had actually done it. Sometime that year, during a sweeping crackdown on the Brothers for Life street gang, the MEOCS arrested all 3 Kwame brothers, including Farhad. They were charged with several crimes, including murder, and Farhad himself received 60 years behind bars with no parole for 43 years. Simultaneously, back in Goulburn Supermax, the authorities would aggressively search Hamzi's prison cell, hoping to find another phone which they suspected he had. They didn't find it. However, they did find
Shout out to him, though. He's smart.
a flash drive containing Brothers for Life and Islamic State material. It even listed the gang's creed: courage, honor, no mercy, mercy for the weak, family for life. The prison authorities were now asking themselves some serious questions. How was he able to get his hands on the flash drive and most likely the phone that they couldn't find? There was only one conclusion. Surely their most dangerous inmate must have someone working for him on the inside. It turned out their suspicions were correct. Not long after, Bassam Hamzi's lawyer would appear in court as a defendant. He faced charges for allegedly cooperating with the criminal and aiding in the supplying of commercial quantity of methamphetamine between October 2017 and February 2018. Interestingly, Churchill wasn't even a lawyer. The whole time he was a legal secretary posing as one. As a result, prison authorities would temporarily remove Bassam's client privileges. That also included any phone calls to the outside. However, the restrictions didn't last long. Bassam would then successfully represent himself in the NSW Court of Criminal Appeal to overturn the decision, a move that shook even the jury. They didn't expect
Shit, that shook me. I'm like, what? He represented himself? He's a smart man. Smart man.
a long-term inmate to express himself in such an articulate manner. Around 2 years later, in 2019, an interesting video surfaced on the internet. It clearly showed Bassam Hamzy and Talal Alameddine trading blows in the prison yard. Few people paid attention to the video, since it wasn't rare for rival crime families to clash over drug territories. Little did they know that altercation would plunge Sydney into a bloody gang war. To fill you in, Talal Alameddine is among the 5 primary leaders of Sydney's Alameddine crime family. He was arrested and convicted in 2015 for playing a role in the Parramatta Police Headquarters terrorist attack that claimed an officer's life. According to authorities, he is among the most dangerous inmates in Goulburn's Supermax prison. Just a few years prior, in April 2016, there was a series of murders that reportedly might have something to do with this altercation. On the 9th of that month, Safwan Sherbaji was shot in the Condell Park. 3 weeks later, on the 20th, Wali Ahmad was shot dead in Bankstown. Fast forward to October 19th, 2020, Majid Hamzy was shot dead outside his home. Surveillance footage disturbingly showed how the 2 black-clad assassins patiently waited and opened fire as soon as the victim stepped onto his driveway. Despite being shot, Majid tried running away before falling dead outside his friend's house. Majid's death was catastrophic. After all, he was Bassam's brother, and the authorities were sure Brothers for Life would demand vengeance. In what seemed like an overnight turn of events, the streets of Sydney turned into a battlefield. Brothers for Life Alameddine drive-bys and beatdowns were becoming a common occurrence. Almost every week, the police found a severely burnt getaway vehicle disposed of somewhere in an alley. It's like they weren't even trying to cover their tracks. How these attacks were happening was seriously disturbing. We're talking about criminals wandering about with guns in broad daylight and exchanging fire in public. The Hamzy Alameddine war was worse than the internal Brothers for Life exchanges. It was so bad that there were cases of gangsters ambushing the wrong houses and shooting at innocent people's homes. On January 30th, 2021, Mustafa Nauman was shot dead in Hurstville in what was a case of a mistaken identity on Ibrahim Hamzy.
Yo, it's so crazy because I did a video the other day, right, about the cocaine and all that stuff and, Australia and stuff like that. It was a reaction video, of course. And I'm sitting, well, let me not say of course, because I be doing other stuff. But anyway, I'm sitting there and they telling me about this shooting. And I'm like, damn, they shot him up that much times? I'm sitting there like, nah, something ain't right. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, R.I.P. my first love, he died from mistaken identity in a sense. Like, well, not necessarily, it wasn't for him, it was for somebody else. But long story short, R.I.P. him. So I get it. Like, sometimes, bullets ain't got no name. Things can go left. So I'm doing the video, and in the video they're talking about like how this guy just got, like, he passed away and he got popped a few times, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, nah, he not telling his family everything, something ain't right. He probably was into the street life. And I got a comment and it was like, no, because it could have been mistaken identity. And you know what, you're absolutely right. And me being from the hood, I know that. But the type of niggas I'm around, those type of mistakes don't happen when you got good, you know what I mean? That's a crash out move. Clapping somebody on mistaken identity is a crash out move, and you speak on what you know and what you see. And like I said, the type of niggas I'm around, that's a crash out move. They don't crash out. You walking up to you know what I mean? Y'all know, if you know, you know. So, but you absolutely right. That can absolutely happen. Mistaken identity. But in that case, I don't think that was mistaken identity, because I got a message that sounded like that was he was just at the wrong, what they say, right place, wrong time. That's what that was. So, yeah, that's how it be, man. It's like if you go in somebody's hood and you got tents on your car, and they at war. That's not mistaken identity. They gonna air you out because we at war. We don't know who you are. We never seen your car before, and you got tents.
On the same day, the police also found the burnt body of Majid Darbis in Smithfield. According to autopsy reports, Majid was shot before being burnt in a getaway vehicle. On February 15, 2021, a failed assassination attempt at the World Gym in Prospect NSW almost caused colossal damage. 2 bullets missed their intended target, an Alameddine associate, and straight into the wall of a daycare center, narrowly missing a toddler who was playing inside.
Yeah, I remember that, man. That was crazy, bro. We gotta do better, man. We gotta do better.
Bullet even grazed a nurse who luckily survived. Around 4 months later, on June 18th, 2021, another Hamzy would fall. This time, it was Bilal Hamzy. he was killed in a brutal execution-style murder in Sydney's CBD. The police tried to warn him that there was a price on his head. However, he didn't listen. Instead, he sought to hide in the busy streets of Sydney, believing that his enemies wouldn't dare take him out in public. Unfortunately for him, he was wrong. According to witness reports, Bilal was on a date with a Kim Kardashian lookalike when he decided to step outside for some fresh air. That's when he was greeted by two men in an Audi. They opened fire, taking him out on the busy street. Everyone around even saw how the assassins made a U-turn before again shooting at Bilal, who was now laying on the ground. Barely 2 months later, on August 6, 2021, Brothers for Life retaliated. Shady Kanj, a low-level Alameddine associate, was shot in Chester Hill and found dead by police in Guildford. A week later, the Alameddines tried to strike. However, Ibrahim Hamzi was lucky. The police intervened and foiled a gangland hit. Another 4 months later, father and son, Salim and Tufik Hamzi, were assassinated in cold blood outside their Guildford home. To the police's surprise, the two weren't even in on the illegal businesses. It just seemed like the Alameddines were done playing around and took out anybody who was even remotely related to Bassam Hamzi. It was also in 2021 that the NSW police did a lavish raid on a luxury car firm in the middle of Sydney. According to the authorities, the initiative was part of the in-your-face strategy against the Hamzis and Alameddines. From Ferraris to Porsches and McLarens, they inspected everything on display. Allegedly, about a dozen of the vehicles were used by high-ranking members of the Alameddine crime network in various illegal activities. In fact, one Bentley Continental GT in particular was connected to a drive-by shooting in 2020. Fast forward to 2022, and the two gangs are still at it. As recently as January 6th, Ghassan Amoum was shot dead in brazen daylight. Witnesses reported seeing a man approach a parked BMW. Quickly, through the driver's window, the hitman opened fire on Hamzi's brother, killing him instantly. Luckily, the friend in the passenger seat survived. Following the incident on March 2022, it was rumored by the Brothers for Life gang sources that the Hamzi clan was tired of Bassam's leadership. It never helped that he has always been behind bars. However, things were now worse as Hamzis were seemingly fading out of existence. According to inside reports to Daily Telegraph, they all deal with the shit and pretend to care, but there are groans whenever he calls. It seems that few now stand by his side, as most prefer his younger cousin, Ibrahim Hamzi. Interestingly, Ibrahim is also in prison on remand following an alleged plot to murder an Alameddine associate. He also faces other charges of alleged murder and stabbing. The Hamzis will have to sort out their issues quickly, as their rivals are still hot on their tail. According to the gang experts on the case, the Alameddines have now partnered with the Comanchero bikies. Apparently, their mission is to take full control over Sydney's lucrative drug trade and eliminate whatever
Yo, if you got a gang, allegedly, with the bikies, allegedly, that's like, yo, that's like putting Bloods and Crips together and just like, yo, that's crazy.
competition stands in their way. On top of that, the police have improved their efforts against both parties. They now have Task Force Erebus to put an end to the tit-for-tat shooting. Additionally, they are also working on the implementation of new controversial legal harassment laws that will allow officers to search hardened criminals without search warrants. The authorities will also control where they bank, the phones they use, what cars they drive, and even where they live. The idea is to make life in crime so difficult that the participants either stop or leave the country. Even though things are now relatively calm, it's hard to predict what will happen next. The war has evolved beyond drugs, territory, or money. It's now also a matter of honor, pride, and not showing weakness. According to authorities, no gang appears to be backing down, and with each punch thrown, the other side is more likely to retaliate. It's also worth mentioning that even though his clan might have allegedly rejected him, Bassam is not out of the fight. Gang experts hint that he has founded a new Brothers for Life chapter, the Illawarra chapter. Unlike the other two, that were seemingly corrupted by drugs and money, this one strictly upholds a skewed version of Islamic ideals. Instead of tattoos featuring guns and crime scenes, they have scriptures engraved on their backs up to their necks. Damien Featherstone is the alleged president of the new chapter, who was appointed after meeting Bassam Hamzi in the Goulburn Supermax prison yard. Like Hamzi, Featherstone is deemed to be quite charismatic, and despite being a violent, recovering meth addict, he shows resolve characteristics and total devotion to his faith. Only time will tell what the gang will amount to. Bassam is still in jail until July 5th, 2035, when he'll be
Damn, yo. That's mad years.
Eligible for parole. Hopefully by then, the Australian authorities will have ended the war and prevented further escalation. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the
Please, man, war gonna be going on forever.
channel for more videos like this in the future. Also leave a comment down below letting me know what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching and have a good one.
That was fire. I subscribe for the vibe.